Chris Weston there. Well, we all know that the daily grind can lead to a variety of niggling aches and pains or even more serious work injuries. So just what can we do to avoid the occupational hazards of office life? To tell us more, I'm joined now in the studio by physiotherapist Marnie Douglas. She's the director of Ergoworks. Marnie, thanks so much for your time for coming in. Appreciate talking to you. What's the most common complaints that you see?
Back pain and neck pain are the most common. We also see a lot of people with headaches, eye problems, and also a lot of RSI type injuries, so tendinitis from using the mouse and those types of activities.
So is it the case that injuries are most commonly on the side of the mouse, on the side of which hand that you usually would use with the mouse?
I think generally you're dominant on that side, so you use a mouse on that side. So when you actually use the mouse, you actually click thousands of times throughout the day, so that's an average computer user, so it's a lot of strain for the small muscles in your hand.
It's not just the wrist, it's also your posture of how you're sitting and your shoulder and everything else that relates to that, isn't it?
Absolutely. So when you use a mouse, a common position is the shoulder brought forward and generally up and out, particularly towards the end of the day when you get tired. So that can place a lot of strain through the shoulder and neck muscles.
Well, you've made me sit up straight for this interview, but what's the most common thing that people do wrong when they're sitting in their office? Because so many people spend so much time at their desk.
I think it's probably more to do with posture, so just sitting on the chair and slumping. You can have the best equipment in the world, but if your posture's poor, then that can often lead to back injuries.
And of course, many people use computers, so what about the height of the monitor? How
height
crucial
of the monitor is really important. If your monitor is down, you're looking down and causes a lot of strain through the muscles in your neck. Also using laptops for long periods of time can cause lots of injuries.
What about having a proper chair?
Proper chair is crucial, but probably the most important thing is actually setting it up to suit your individual requirements. So adjusting the lumbar support so it's in the correct area and making sure your feet are firmly placed on the floor.
Okay, well, let's assume we've got our chair, our desk, our mouse, everything set up right, and we've got our posture correct when we're sitting down.
Yeah.
Lots of people spend hours upon hours at their desk every day. So how crucial is it that they get up to stretch their limbs and their legs?
I think in the ideal world you get up and move around every 1 to 2 hours. So we're not designed to sit, so it's important that you walk around, stretch tight muscles, so do a simple forearm stretch throughout the day or just shrug your shoulders, and it's all about changing your posture.
And is that the best way to avoid something like an RSI, if you like? Is it to stretch out your hand as often as you can?
I think it is. I mean, we can't avoid repetition in our jobs, so I think it's not doing the one task for too long at a time, but also making sure that you have regular rest breaks throughout the day.
Is there any other way that people go wrong as well? I guess, you know, there's not just jobs where people are sitting at their desks, there's a lot of people that do heavy lifting and those kind of things as well.
I mean, ergonomics applies to absolutely everything, so people working in factories, so it all comes down to, I think, your body awareness and how you're using that throughout the day.
And standing, you know, females might stand in heels all day if they're working as a salesperson, for example, or as a hairdresser. Yeah.
Heels are absolutely disastrous. So heels place a lot of pressure on your lower back. Again, it all comes down to your posture, as long as you're standing correctly and having lots of frequent rest breaks throughout the day.
Marnie, you work with a lot of corporate clients here in Australia. How committed do you think that corporate Australia is to working on these workplace ergonomic issues? Unfortunately,
it's not legislated in Australia that employees all need to have a workstation assessment. So it means that they all, organisations are more reactive. So it's more on an ad hoc sort of basis. At Ergoworks, we try and be much more preventative about what we do.
Overseas, are there such legislative requirements?
Absolutely. In the UK, it's required that each person that sits at a desk needs an assessment. So hopefully our laws will tighten up in the near future.
Now, plenty of things you can get on the market, you know, mouse rests, lumbar supports, foot rests, monitor stands. Do these items work, or do you think they're just gimmicks?
I think some are definitely gimmicky. I think it's important that if you do have equipment that it's recommended by a physiotherapist or an ergonomist, and that you don't just get equipment because the person sitting next to you has also got it.
Okay, well, you've given myself and all of our viewers plenty to think about. Marnie Douglas from Ergoworks, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Nina.